In case you hadn't noticed, most of the world outside of these borders is a complete disaster.
It's gone to shit.
Yeah. Specifically so in the Middle East, otherwise known as the place where bombs go.
Yeah. Russia has begun a bombing campaign in Syria, and they're supposedly taking out ISIS, and it sounds great at first glance, right? I posted something the other day. I was like, go Russia, go. Hashtag suns out, guns out.
Suns out, guns out.
Because I thought, hey, this is awesome. Maybe they're going after ISIS. But if we take a closer look, this maybe might not be the greatest thing.
Yeah. There is concern. America is very concerned. That Russia isn't so much focused on ISIS as they are on bombing the U.S.-backed Syrian rebels. Fuck.
Yeah, not good. Ouch. So basically, Russia seems to be protecting the Assad regime.
Yeah.
These are the bad guys. These are the bad ones in there. Yeah. Well, they're one of the bad guys in there.
So, of course, Russia denies this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They claim that they're only attacking ISIS, and they've asked that the USA please keep out of. No, they didn't even say please.
They did say please. He said please. Yeah.
They said please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they say please stay out of the airspace while we're bombing, so we don't shoot you.
Basically, yeah. Because shooting down a U.S. aircraft would not do well to ease any tensions in the Middle East.
No, I think it's dangerous. Syria isn't a big area, and you've got these two superpowers in there. It's scary. It's like two guys fighting in the dark. Someone takes one in the dome, and it's game on. Like it scares the crap out of me.
I find what's happening over there is really confusing for people who don't follow international politics. Even for those who do follow international politics,
it's still confusing.
It's pretty confusing.
Yeah.
What's happening? I'm gonna try, in a sense, to break it down for you.
Yeah.
What's happening? Okay, Assad, the leader of Syria, he's sort of pulling a gambit here, and Russia is
the ugliest man I've ever seen.
Strange looking dude.
Yeah.
Russia is pretty much the only country defending Assad. So, okay, Assad is also fighting ISIS.
Yeah.
But
they're getting it on two fronts.
He's in a strange position where he wants to fight ISIS, but he doesn't want to defeat ISIS. Yeah. Because if Assad's regime defeats ISIS, then there's nothing preventing the Western world from toppling the Assad regime, who's also pretty terrible.
Yeah.
So, as long as ISIS is in there and the biggest threat in the Middle East, the focus is on defeating ISIS and not Assad. So Assad kind of wants to keep ISIS in there, but they also don't want ISIS to take over.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the same thing with the Taliban too. That nobody really wanted to let them, completely fizzle out because everybody's shitty down there.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
Suck.
Everybody sucks. It's just levels of suckness.
Yeah. So in order to stabilize the Middle East, and, if you want to put an end to the refugee crisis, you would need to stabilize Syria specifically. Yeah. We need to get rid of both ISIS and Assad.
Yeah.
But we cannot get rid of Assad until ISIS is gone, because if we get rid of Assad first, then ISIS just gets too powerful. That's pretty scary. You don't want to do that. But Russia doesn't agree. Russia actually thinks that Assad should stay. Now, whether they actually think that, or that's what they're saying, because Assad is the only... Syria right now is the only country in the Middle East that is on Russia's side.
Yeah.
So they do have some value in Assad where no one else in the Western world does. But either way, that whole part of the world is in chaos.
It's scary. Yeah.
And on the topic of chaos, I've got a kind of a theory as to what is going on there. I don't think anyone has a clue. I don't think America has a clue what's going on in Syria. I don't think Russia has a clue, or at least not as much of a clue as they're letting on in the media. I think there's so much chaos over there. There's people fighting here, people fighting there. Nobody knows who's who. Nobody knows what's what. There's just war.
I think
pestilence,
and they're almost just kind of like waiting for it to just finish up.
Yeah, they're kind of. I think they're waiting for maybe some smoke to settle so they can see where people are. But now, if Russia goes in and puts people on the ground, they're going to be the first ones who do find out what's going on. Yeah,
it's like that cartoon of when you see people fighting and there's they're in that cloud and they just kind of go on by. The U.S. is just kind of going,
waiting for the smoke to clear.
Yeah, and then we'll figure out what's happening.
But if Russia gets that upper hand and they are the ones who know what's going on in the Middle East, then potentially they're going to get close with Saudi Arabia, and this is a fear that America has. Yeah. We have a lot invested in Saudi Arabia. There are jabronis. Knuckle bumping buddies. And you have to remember that America they did Desert Storm They went and fought Iraq in Kuwait, not necessarily because Iraq was going to take Kuwait's oil fields, but because Saudi Arabia is right next door to Kuwait, and they're really scared that, hey, if Iraq comes in and takes Kuwait, then they're going to come to Saudi Arabia next. What's stopping them? I think that Saudi Arabia has some concerns that Russia's going to come in, bust up Syria, and then just invade Saudi Arabia and just keep on going. And if Russia invades Saudi Arabia, America would very likely go to war.
That is one of the signs of the apocalypse,
Yeah. But mind you, if for whatever reason the Americans didn't take their planes out of the Syrian airspace,
that could have been it too.
If they're both in there, and let's say 2 planes go by and they don't know who's who, and Russia shoots down an American plane, or America shoots down a Russian plane, that's some tension.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of really scary, and I do not see any, although I'm happy that they're destroying ISIS.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to send Canadian citizens to do it, so if Russians want to put their lives on the line to do it, I high-five them for it, because it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And a part of me is like, just shut up, America, let them do it. They're doing the dirty work for you.
Yeah.
But if they're not actually fighting ISIS, and they're just going over there to prop up the Assad regime, that is doing nothing to put an end to the strife that's going on in the Middle East.
Yeah, and that's not good. Yeah, good point.
So if we ever want that part of the world to be the part of the world that bombs don't go, I guess if Russia's shooting, if Russia's killing ISIS, that's the right path. But if they're propping up the Assad regime, it's not doing us any favors.
No.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's Club National Underground Thunderbounds when I stomp the ground. Like a million elephants, a silverback orangutan. You can't stop a train. Who wants some? Don't come unprepared. I'll be there, but when I leave there, better be a household name. Weatherman telling us it ain't gon' rain. So now we sitting in a drop top soaking wet. In a silk suit, trying not to sweat. Hit somersaults without the net, but this